Thank you for hanging out on a Wednesday. Red Sox Now, you can see at Radio Mike on X and TikTok. You can find me on, you guys and gals have found me everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, you name it. You can always send me an email, antonellis.michael@gmail.com. You see the agenda for the show, and we'll get to your comments in the last segment as always. Make sure that you hit the thumbs up button. You don't need to smash it. Subscribe to the channel. Great comments again at Red Sox Now, presented by FanArch. 2,300 subscribers and more. We're trending towards 2,400. If we could get to 3,000 before the new year, that will be great. And this has been a fun first year doing this. Episode 189 of Red Sox Now. Thanks to all of you. Terrific guys and gals. How about the Sonny Gray comments? I thought it was interesting. And again, things that we've talked about, I think it happens that we tend to just look at these guys as a name on the baseball reference page, which I have open up. We forget all the other emotions. And Sonny Gray was honest about not liking the Yankees. There's nothing wrong with that. And I've tried to tell people that. That doesn't mean he can't pitch in a big market. He grew up in Tennessee. We're all different, right? There's people here in the East Coast. I could never live in California. I could never live in Florida. I think sometimes we don't think that any of those things matter or should matter to players because we say, well, they're millionaires. They're playing a kid's game. Yes, we know all that. But I've lived in this world, and for those guys, those things matter to them. Now, he was a deadline trade, so he didn't have a lot of saying at that point. He was in Oakland. He liked it there. They were good when he was there. He was, that was his first organization. You got to remember all these things. We don't tend to factor a lot of common sense in sports anymore. All right, so he's still somewhat young. It's tough when you get traded from your first organization. That's a huge, oh, wow, they don't like me. Players go through that. He was a first-round pick, 18th overall. Grew up in Tennessee, went to Vanderbilt. He's a high school star, Vandy star. And he had a bad year. His worst year was 18, and he talked about this yesterday. He just wasn't comfortable there with him and his family, and I understand that, right? I mean, you're a Tennessee guy. I grew up in a real small town. So I get it. 26, 27 is not easy. He's still young. And it just, like he said, New York, it just wasn't a good situation for me. It wasn't a great setup for me and my family. I never wanted to go there in the first place. It was a deadline deal. But man, boy, he let out his hatred of the Yankees. He wore a 2007 Red Sox World Series championship. It was an immediate yes to come to Boston. Steven Matz and other talk to him. Matz glowing about the organization. I think that says so much about where the health of the Red Sox are that you have that kind of reference, and we don't even know if Matz is back. What did factor into my decision to come to Boston, it feels good to me to go to a place now where, you know what, it's easy to hate the Yankees, right? He said it's easy to go out and have the rivalry and go into it with full force, steam ahead. I like the challenge. So, he did say, I do appreciate my time in New York. I do feel like the last 7 years of my career, my life, everything, I've been a better baseball player, husband, everything from having that experience and going through that. I just feel like I learned so much after going through that. So he doesn't talk about all of it, but trust me on this, getting traded for the first time, having an organization say we don't want you anymore, then pitching in a big city where everything has changed and you're uncomfortable, and it didn't work for him. And this happens to players. Doesn't mean that he can't pitch in a big market. It's just wasn't a good fit. And that press conference was very interesting. Very interesting. I like that he wore a 2007 Red Sox World Series hat. I was at Game 1, by the way. Schilling pitched. It was incredible. When I worked for the Portland Sea Dogs for 15 years, this is how amazing our ownership group was. They bought tickets for us, the front office, and we didn't have to give them a dime back. And we rotated. They bought tickets for all the playoff games, all of them, regardless. One year I went to every round, took my dad. It was my dad and I were at the J.D. Drew game. But I was able to go to Game 1, and we just rotated through. It wasn't even by seniority. It was just everyone got a chance to go. Part of my time there, I'll never forget doing those kind of things for people. We're on the Ketel Marte party again. I like it. I talked about it early in the offseason. Bob Nightingale, Red Sox, Tigers, and Tampa are all on the radar. What does this tell you? Organizations with pitching. We know Tampa always does. The Tigers, yeah, they've got some young guys. Diamondbacks are looking for lots of pitching in a return package. We know that. They wanted Connolly early at the deadline for a rental. So here's what this says. J.P. Ricciardi has told me about this. If you don't know JP, he's a former big league GM who does games with us at the Woo Sox. JP told me how this time of year, owners will give you a budget, usually by, and what's crazy, and JP said sometimes a lot of owners will give you a budget at the end of their fiscal year, December 31st, which is hard because a lot of things change after that. So if Ketel Marte is a great player, he's an all-star player. He's been an all-star back-to-back. He was the third in MVP voting a couple years ago. I know he's not great defensively, but it's a position of need, a position of priority. He hits for power. He hits for average. He doesn't strike out a ton. He is an excellent fit. He's a switch hitter. He changes your lineup dramatically, and the cost is not a lot for the Diamondbacks. I know he's 32, but $15 million at 32 for that kind of player is cheap. So what this leads me to believe, they got about $60 million on the books. Diamondbacks are not big spenders. And I'm sure Mike Hazen has gotten his budget from the owner, and he needs more money. Because deep down, I don't think Mike wants to trade a player like this. I mean, this is an all-star player. This is going to dramatically change their team. So if they aren't able to spend more, which I would imagine if with him being on the block, then they have to recoup some of that. I don't know if I could certainly see a team paying all of that. Like, that's not an unreasonable deal to have a second baseman with this kind of production costing you $15 million, 12 in 2027. I don't care that he's 32. I mean, now if the Diamondbacks are willing to throw in some money, and, I don't know. Would they do half of that? Well, who knows? I'm just reading in between the lines. They obviously, this is how teams like this build. They're not going to spend. They want a lot of controllable pitchers. It could get outrageous, but I am totally down for this. I would totally rather have a position of priority than Pete Alonso. This is a switch hitter. He's a good teammate. And you don't find players like this at second base every day. Like, there's not many second basemen that can hit 25 to 35, 30. I mean, he had 36 home runs a couple years ago. He'll take some walks. Not a great base stealer, good base runner. But again, the price will be nuts. But it's interesting to see those three teams. So that obviously, with the Red Sox have the pitching, I would think that that's a schoolboy situation. I would think with Detroit, because I don't see a lot of, Detroit's kind of in the Diamondbacks thing. They want to get a lot of young pitching. So I'm just trying to read between the lines. And of course, Tampa is Tampa, right? The Rays are the Rays, as we know. So I've said what I've wanted. And I like this path better. Sign Bregman if you were able to pull off this. And then we're going to talk lefties again. Yes, we are. We talked lefties yesterday. Framber Valdez's name. A name that I've brought up on this program. The prediction guys. I love the prediction guys. From NewJersey.com. Andrew Trednick predicted that the Red Sox would trade for Framber Valdez. Valdez is, whoever wrote this article for Nesson should do a little more research. He's a free agent. It's going to be a lot. We know this. I mean, he's going to be north of Cease. And I still don't think people understand the pitching market. You see, Toronto signed guys out of the Korean League. Guy was 17-1. They gave him a lot of money. I still don't think we get it. I still see the backlash on the Cease deal. I don't understand. I don't understand how people cannot read the room with starting pitching in baseball. And people are going to turn their nose up to this guy. There's history here with Cora. If they brought him in, then obviously Cora and Bregman, if Bregman's back, obviously, but obviously Cora will know this is a guy they like. Top 10 in Cy Young voting a bunch of times. 2-time All-Star. Last 4 years, he's made 31 starts, and 3 of them 28-24. He missed a few games. The numbers are really good. I don't care how old he is. All of you want, some of you being a little, not just you on here, but Red Sox fans in general, wanting somebody comparable to Crochet. Come on. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. You're not going to find someone comparable. This is pretty damn close in terms of numbers. Is his stuff Crochet? It's not. Obviously, I don't think it's Crochet. Right? Obviously, the strikeouts are not, Crochet's in a league of his own. Is this a solid number 2? Without a doubt. Is he going to be north of $200 million? Yeah. Doesn't matter how old he is. There's not many guys like this. You don't want, if people turning their nose up to all these guys, then who do you want? I get this. I want someone, in their mid-20s, mid-20s, top of the rotation guy. Who's giving you that? Hunter Green. That ain't happening. Veteran. A winner. He's pitched in big games. There's a path where you could do Valdez, Bregman, and Marte, and I'd be happy if that was it. If you were able to, now it's a lot. It's a lot. But I would be absolutely okay. I know you lose a qualifying offer. I get all that. But, boy, that's a rotation of Crochet, Valdez, Gray, Bayo, and Connolly early. Or maybe early's in the trade. I hope not. But, boy, that's 4. That is increasingly, insanely better than last year's opening day rotation that had Buehler, Fitz, and Sean Newcomb 3, 4, 5, with Bayo and Giolito waiting in the wings. That was your opening day rotation. Crochet, I've had people tell me, they haven't improved much. That's improving. Walker Buehler, Fitz, and Sean Newcomb. Now, I get it. There were injuries, but still, that was your opening day rotation. If you had injuries this year, your guys filling in would be a lot better. But I am all for that path. And this isn't an engagement segment. because I've talked about these guys before. You want a number two, that's a number two. And I don't want to hear that he's not. All right, because I know people are going to deep dive into the baseball savant, or they're going to tell me he's old. No. This guy is a legit... I know that stuff happened with him last year. I could care less. He is a solid top-of-the-rotation pitcher that's probably going to be 230, maybe. But I would do it in a heartbeat. I would do those three moves. That would be... Well, what about first base? I don't know. I don't care. Let Romy play there. Really, I'm not concerned. I'm not. Well, you really trust Romy to play every day? He played almost 100 games last year. So, that would be fantastic. Probably won't happen, but I would love that. Let's get to your comments before we head out. It's from the Tuesday show. Naturally, it's always the day before. At UKSSM33. I've been to Worcester a lot back in the day. I was talking about the Woo Sox yesterday. Stayed at the Hampton Inn next to the 99 restaurant, right off the interstate. Great city. Worked for a cable company. Would have to come there and train. New viewer, thank you so much. Pasha, 21K. I love all four outfielders and want none in all caps traded. Need to count in injuries. You can't, Pasha. It's not fair to them. Right? I get what you're saying. They did that last year, but you can't tell Duran, Rafaela, and Abreu that we want to keep all of you in case one of you gets hurt, so one of you is just not going to play. I mean, that's not fair. At Mookie Comeback, 4467. Mookie Comeback is a brand new viewer, and he wrote, "You have a new sub." I wanted to give him a shout out because he's new, and we got a ton of new people every day, and we thank you for that. So Red Sox Now, presented by FanArch. I'll go back to this. Where am I here? Yeah, at the Radio Mike on X and TikTok. Mike Antonellis 726 on Instagram. And you probably can find me everywhere else, which you have. I do have Discord. We got a few people that hopped in yesterday. One I had to ban. Some shocker that we got some spam right away. You guys and gals are fantastic. I love all of you. I love the interaction that we have, the back and forth. I read every comment. I try to answer every comment. I love all of your suggestions. I love all of your comments, regardless of where they are. They mean the world to me. There's nothing better than going through the comments, later in the day and reading this and having the community that we do. We're going to keep building, and hopefully we can do some cool things down the road. All right, that's going to do it for Wednesday. We'll be back on Thursday with another edition of Red Sox Now, and as always, go Sox.